What did the mysterious markings on a 200-year-old map mean? This ancient document that Zira found would open the doors to her village's forgotten past. But should some secrets remain buried, or should they be brought to light? This discovery would drag three friends into a great adventure, and what they found in the end would be more valuable than gold. In the village of Nunavut, 29-year-old Zira, who worked as a history teacher, was cleaning her grandfather's house after his death. Among old Tuluk's belongings were old books, photographs, and keepsakes. When she opened the old chest in the attic, she found a yellowed piece of paper at the bottom. When she carefully opened the paper, she realized it was an old map. The map showed the shape of the village, but as it was 200 years ago. Most surprisingly, there were various symbols and markings on the map. "What could this be?" murmured Zira. In the corner of the map, there was a note in old Inuit writing. "Whoever finds Tuluk's legacy will also learn the village's true history." Zira's heart began to beat rapidly. Was this a treasure map? The next day at school, she showed the map to her closest friend, museum expert Vuko. "Vuko, what could this be?" she asked. 35-year-old Vuko was an expert in history and archaeology. When he examined the map, his eyes opened wide. "Zira, this looks real. The paper is at least 200 years old, and these symbols, these are Inuit treasure markings." Treasure markings? Yes, ancient Inuit societies used to draw maps like this to hide valuable items, especially during wartime. Zira got excited. "So what should we do?" "Let's show it to my archaeologist friend Neela. She's more experienced in these matters." That evening, they invited Neela as well. The 32-year-old female archaeologist was very impressed when she saw the map. "This is incredible," said Neela. "The markings on this map show traditional Inuit hiding methods, but it might not just be treasure. There could be historical artifacts, too." "So it's a real treasure map?" asked Zira. "Very likely. But we need to be careful. These kinds of discoveries can sometimes be dangerous." The three friends decided to investigate the map. Neela began examining the map with professional equipment. Under UV light, invisible writings appeared on the map. "Look!" shouted Neela. "There are secret writings." There were notes written with special ink on the edges of the map. The directions shown by the North Star. 50 steps to the big rock. The mark among 3 trees. Vuko researched to solve these notes. This is classic treasure map technique. Each clue leads to the next one. "So where do we start?" asked Zira. Neela pointed to the first mark on the map. "This is the northern part of the village. In ancient times, there was a big rock here." "Does that rock still exist?" asked Zira. "We need to investigate. But the landscape could have changed a lot after 200 years. The three friends went to explore the northern part of the village the next day. According to the old map, where the big rock should have been, there was now a small hill. "Maybe the rock got buried underground," said Neela. They investigated with a metal detector. Indeed, there was a large rock structure underground. "There it is," said Vuko. "This must be the big rock." According to the map, the second clue was 50 steps north from the rock. They walked forward, counting their steps. At the 50th step, they found the remains of 3 old trees. The trees had died, but their roots were still in the soil. "What's in the middle of the 3 trees?" asked Zira. They started digging in the middle. At 1 meter deep, the corner of an old metal box appeared. "Did we find the treasure?" asked Zira excitedly. But when they pulled out the box, there was no gold inside. There was just another map and old documents. The second map they found was more detailed than the first. Vuko examined the documents. "These documents are about the village's founding history," he said, "but this is very different from what we know. The documents stated that the village was a much larger settlement 300 years ago. Thousands of people used to live here back then. But why did it shrink? Asked Zira. Neela was translating the documents. It mentions a great war here. The villagers hid their valuable belongings and fled. So the real treasure is somewhere else. The second map showed the mountainous region south of the village. There was a great hiding place marker there. This was a very big operation, said Vuko. Not just one family, but the valuable belongings of the entire village were hidden. So why hasn't anyone found it until now? Asked Zira. Because the maps were separated, said Neela. For security. The first map leads to the second to the third. This discovery took their adventure to an even bigger dimension. Now they weren't just discovering treasure, but the village's lost history. We need to go to the southern mountains tomorrow, said Neela. But it could be dangerous. That area is very desolate. It's worth the risk, said Zira determinedly. This is my grandfather's legacy. They decided to prepare and set out on their biggest adventure. Early the next morning, the three friends set off toward the mountains. They had camping equipment, digging tools, and the second map with them. The mountainous region was 15 kilometers from the village. The road was difficult and rocky. According to the map, they needed to find the rocky area called Eagle's Nest. Where does this name come from? Asked Zira. Many eagles used to live in these rocks, said Vuko, but now there are very few. After 4 hours of climbing, they found the rocky area that resembled the shape on the map. This place was like a natural amphitheater formed by giant rocks. According to the map, there's a secret passage under the biggest rock, said Neela. They found and examined the biggest rock. Indeed, there was a narrow crack at the bottom of the rock. Can we get through here? Asked Zira. They illuminated the inside with a flashlight. The crack opened into a wider cave. Let's go inside, said Neela bravely. When they entered the cave, they saw that the interior was very spacious. There were old Inuit paintings on the walls. What do these paintings tell? Asked Zira. Vuko examined the paintings. This tells the story of the village, the Great War, the escape, and the treasure-hiding process. At the deepest part of the cave, there was a large stone door. There were symbols on the door. These symbols are the same as those on the map, said Neela. They tried to open the door, but it was very heavy. All three of them forced it together. When the door opened, an incredible scene appeared before them. Behind the door was a natural hall, but this hall wasn't empty. Inside were dozens of chests, pots, and old belongings. Is this real? Whispered Zira. Neela began examining the chests with her professional equipment. When she opened the first chest, inside were old Inuit jewelry, ivory, and precious stones. These jewelry pieces are very old, said Neela, at least 300 years old. Vuko was opening other chests. Inside were old tools, weapons, and handicrafts. This isn't just treasure, said Vuko. This is a complete museum. Zira opened the biggest chest. Inside were gold coins, precious stones, and, most importantly, old documents. What are these documents? She asked. Neela examined the documents. This is the complete history of the village, events that nobody knew about. The documents stated that the village used to be a major trading center. Merchants from different tribes would come and trade valuable goods. But why did it disappear? Asked Zira. There was a great war. Enemy tribes tried to destroy the village. The villagers hid their valuable belongings and scattered, said Vuko. So how is this connected to Zira's grandfather Tuluk? Asked Neela. Among the documents, it was written that the Tuluk family was the guardian family of the village. For generations they had protected this secret. So my grandfather knew this secret, said Zira. But why didn't he tell me? Maybe he was waiting for the right time, said Vuko. This discovery was big enough to change the entire history of the village. After the Great Discovery, The three friends faced difficult decisions. "What are we going to do with this treasure?" asked Zara. Neela, as an archaeologist, said, "This discovery is very important for the scientific world. It should be given to museums." "But this is Zira's inheritance," said Vuko. "The decision belongs to her." Zira was thoughtful. This treasure could change her life, but at the same time, it was the village's common heritage. "The villagers need to know," she said finally. "This isn't just my past, it's all of ours." When they returned to the village, they told village leader Toku about the situation. "This is incredible," said Toku. "We didn't know our village had such a past." "So what should we do?" asked Zira. "Let's decide at the village council," said Toku. When the village council convened, everyone was shocked. The elders said they had heard these stories from their grandfathers, but thought they were legends. "How will we evaluate this treasure?" asked council member Luca. Neela presented her suggestion. "We can divide the treasure into parts. Some to the museum, some for village development, and some to Zira, who found it." This suggestion pleased everyone. "But the most important part," said Zira, "is passing this historical story on to future generations." The villagers really liked this idea. A few months later, big changes happened in the village. Thanks to the discovered treasure, the village's first historical museum was opened. Neela became the museum director. Zara established a historical research center in the village with the money she received from the treasure. Vuko also started working at this center. "This discovery changed our lives," said Zara. "Not just ours, but the whole village's," said Vuko. At the museum opening, people came from distant villages. The discovered artifacts were very important pieces of Inuit history. "Your grandfather would be proud," said Neela to Zira. "Yes, but the best part is that everyone knows this history now," said Zira. The village's new museum began attracting tourists' attention. This also contributed to the village's economy. Zira could now tell her students the real history of the village, not just information from books, but the story of their own land. "What did this adventure teach us?" asked a student. "That the past is always connected to the future," said Zara, "and the most valuable treasure is knowledge." Vuko and Neela began conducting similar research in other villages. Maybe there were other treasures too. "This is just the beginning," said Neela. "Who knows what else we'll discover?" The adventure of the three friends not only changed the village, but also opened a new page in Inuit history. This story teaches us this: sometimes the greatest treasures are not gold, but knowledge. Discovering the past is necessary to build the future, and true wealth is sharing what is discovered with society. Working together and combining different expertise makes seemingly impossible discoveries possible. When Zira's historical knowledge, Vuko's museum experience, and Neela's archaeological expertise combined, they achieved great success. Dear viewers, are there hidden stories waiting to be discovered in your family or where you live? Share your thoughts in the comments along with the lessons you draw from this adventurous story. If you liked this exciting treasure hunt story, don't forget to hit the like button. By subscribing to our channel, you can discover more adventure, mystery, and discovery stories from the depths of Inuit culture. In our next video, we'll meet again with another intriguing adventure. Until then, don't forget to notice the historical traces around you.